Today we are going to be discussing the Kundalini energy, a lot of the symbolism behind the caduceus, and Christ consciousness. This is Professor Matt. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to support me, first and foremost, thank you for all of my new supporters. I love you guys. Please like, follow, subscribe, share this video around with all of your friends and family. This is going to be a really interesting one. If you are looking for somebody to help you with your inner alchemy cycles, I have an online tool. It's called teampsycosmos. Check it out. It tracks your alchemy cycles, it tracks your astrology. I had just updated it to expand, and it's got a lot of great information. It tracks the constellation on the horizon depending on your time zone. It tells you all about the energy signature of the day. It's got an active retrograde calculator, and it also comes with your own personalized forecast that discusses all of what's going on in your natal chart, including in your house systems as well. Additionally, you can also decide to join my online community, Psycosmos University. We've got about 58 people in here. It's really, honestly, it's really fun. People are having great conversations. You can come check it out. We got tons of master courses. I've got books, I've got courses. I do one-on-one settings, one-on-one schedulings for life coaching. And if you want a natal chart reading done, you can also do that with me as well. I will read your chart. I will tell you about your 2026 year, all that good stuff. So without further ado, let's get into it. The caduceus is often seen as a Greek symbol or a Greco-Roman symbol, but it's actually universal. There's a lot of different, symbologies for this. Kundalini specifically is one of the bigger ones. Now, if you haven't seen the video that I posted yesterday, go check that video out because that one discussed a lot of the symbology. Today, I want to discuss more about the practicality of Kundalini energy and what it is. It's spiral mechanics. So if you watch, again, I can't stress this enough. Go watch the first video first, the one that I posted yesterday about like the caduceus and Kundalini and stuff like that, the serpent symbology of Christ. This is going to play into this a lot. So spiral mechanics are at the deep baseline of what we're talking about here. As you can see, wavelengths look a lot like serpents. That's basically the analogy or the gist. We didn't have, I guess you could say, the visual technology to be able to figure out exactly what these things looked like. That's okay. Long story short, the caduceus is a symbol of you. It is a symbol that has 5 elements that are hidden within it. And it is also a representation of the human body. So we are the caduceus. The wings at the top represent our mind. That is the element of air. The staff in the middle is our spine. That represents the element of earth. The 2 snakes represent the elements of fire and water, respectively. And they are intercoiled because fire and water oppose each other. And the little round circle at the top is the ether. Right, and this represents like our pineal gland or our crown chakra or any of those. So in reality, this symbol is about us. Now, which rung do you want to be on, right? Because we want to get up to the highest point. That means that we have to understand the polarity of all things, meaning fire and water. If you can understand the polarity of all things, that is where you start to see the 4 elements, and then the 4 elements eventually get you the capstone of the 5th, meaning empathy or higher states of consciousness. This is also seen in the Kundalini process. And what I'd like to do today is actually give not only some symbology on that, but also give a lot of practicality because and I used this in yesterday's video as well. Christ really represents that interconnected aspect, the nervous system between the brain, the heart, and the gut genital microbiome. The serpent represents that as well. And serpents are really about choices and balance, right? You've got so many stories. Again, go check out yesterday's video. I won't stress it enough. The story of the shamir. I'm using the same basic imagery from yesterday. But what I really want to discuss here is why the serpent is universal, okay? So the aspect of Kundalini, why is this so popular? Because we see this with prana, chi, ki, Kundalini, ruach hakodesh, pneuma, nefesh, right? All these different words that basically have to deal with the evolution, awakening, and the vertical ascent. It is about the choice to go from the lower state to the highest state. Serpents shed their skin. It's a symbol of death and rebirth, alchemical symbolism, and they represent hidden wisdom, instinct, intuition, and forbidden knowledge. Now, why are they always associated with hidden wisdom? Go beyond all of the other stories. It's because serpents hide. It's because serpents are very, very intelligent hunters. They have to be. They've learned, through evolution for who knows how many thousands of years or whatever on how to hunt, not having arms and legs, right? They have a tongue. They can't hear. So their tongue smells and tastes for them. They have no ears. They cannot hear anything. They've got great eyesight, right? But it's really, I mean, that is such a beautiful thing when you think about it. The serpent represents like an electrical force. And magnetism is often associated with sound. And the serpent uses its tongue and it flicks it out, right? Because that's like an electrical pulse in order to read the ionic energy in the air. But it's got no ears. So it can't hear anything. So it's like literally the most electric focused animal, which is again, or one of, which is again why they associated it with, also location, right? Snakes are everywhere. So the serpent symbology is not lost to anybody. Because if I were to say, oh, it's a dolphin, that's very particular. There would be plenty of other places that wouldn't really get that. So the two serpents in the nervous system of the Kundalini are the Ida and Pingala. The middle, the interconnected column is the Sushumna. What does this mean anatomically? These are basically like you have the left and the right hand sides of the nervous system, and the middle one, actually the nerves run along and within parts of the spinal column. And by within, I mean there's a central column outside, you have your bones. I should have pulled up a picture for this, but you have all your bones. The central meat column is there are nerves that are running alongside within that. So the spine, without an elevated spine, we walk tall, right? Without all that, we wouldn't have consciousness. So Jesus says, be wise as serpents in the Bible, right? Christ explicitly uses the serpent as a symbol for holy wisdom. And he says, be wise as serpents. He doesn't say be, a cheating, evil, conniving thing. He says, be wise, right? Because serpents hold an immense wisdom. And again, serpents are never evil, right? They'll describe, I think, again, the one time it's John in Book of Revelation, and he says that serpent that came and deceived Eve and Adam or whatever. And he calls it the shaitan, right? The adversary. But the adversary in that context is referring to the rebellious nature of Adam and Eve to go against Yahweh, the demiurge, which is the false god. So serpent is healing. Moses raises a bronze staff with the serpent on it. And it shall come to pass, whoever looks upon the serpent shall live. Whoever looks upon the serpent. In other words, consciousness. This is Numbers 21. Consciousness is the key. So as the serpent as Christ, this is in John, as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, which he, that was just this, so must the Son of Man be lifted up. In other words, we have to understand the balance between the lowest points and the highest points of consciousness and reality. That is what Christ does. His sacrifice connects the lower bridge of reality to the highest bridge of reality, because it's God sacrificing himself within his own creation. So God sacrifices himself in order to create creation, in which case it spirals down like a serpent, Ouroboros eating its own tail. Time repeats itself, and God once again sacrifices itself in order to perpetuate creation. Not just perpetuate it, but to do the thing he originally does, which is evolution. God's evolution is his creation of the universe. He creates things in order to perceive evolution through our eyes. He does it again when he sends Christ to die. It's a microcosmic expression of the macrocosmic principle of the Logos, which is why Christ represents the serpent. So serpent as evil. Genesis, serpent equals temptation, duality, descent, and ego. But the Hebrew word for serpent, nakash, also means shining, bronze, luminous, and divination. This is not a demon. It is a trickster, bringer of human awakening. It is a Luciferian, Promethean character. You have to recognize that not everybody liked Prometheus. Prometheus came and gave fire to the humans, and the gods hated him. So if the gods, especially the false gods, run all the operations of Congress and the churches, of course they're going to say the serpent's the bad guy. Of course they're going to say Prometheus is the douchebag in the situation. But that's just the winners write history, right? That's what it's about. So we already talked about the serpent in Gnostic Christianity. If you want to read more about that, hypostasis of the archons, which is okay. The Apocryphon of John and the Gospel of Thomas. These two are really good. But definitely check out all of the apocryphal texts. Demiurge versus serpent versus Christ, right? Demiurge, Yaldabaoth, ignorant creator, lower mind and ego. Serpent is the awakener, the challenger of false authority. Christ is the fully awakened logos that completes the serpent's mission. There you go. That's beautifully said. That's exactly what I'm trying to get at here. The serpent is the symbol of Christ because it is an evolutionary pathway. Serpent in ancient esoteric traditions. Hinduism, Kundalini. Coiled serpent Shakti rests at the sacrum, awakens and rises up the chakras, unites with Shiva at the crown, Christ consciousness equivalent, right? And then Taoism, Egypt, Greece, Norse, Mesoamerican. I talked about a lot of these. Midgard, you've got the world tree serpent, right? The Yggdrasil, which is the tree, and then you have the serpent around it. That's weird. You know, it's like it's always there, right? No matter what. The tree is our spine with the branches, the nervous system. The serpents coiling around the tree is the energy that we choose to do things within the spinal column. That is the real key, biggest difference here is we have stuff going on within us that is reshaping and restructuring our choices and our livelihoods, but also the inner mechanisms of our body. So in a Jungian sense, the serpent is the instinctual unconscious. It is the repressed sexual life force, the shadow, the raw biological drive, the libido, the psycho-spiritual potential trapped in the lower self. How does that make sense? If Christ is the physical human being reflection of God, it is a reflection. It is an inversion because Christ would be in human form. The shadow is that aspect of you. Whatever you think of yourself, the shadow is the inner aspect of the Christ that you are neglecting or rejecting. A lot of people think, oh, no, my shadow is the evil part of me. No, your shadow is your rebellious spirit. It is the protector of you. When you align within it, you become unified. You can go back to God. This is one of the hardest things that people have to go through. And they'll say, I went through ego death. It's a false sense of pride. Anybody who really understands this knows that every single day is a balance between good and evil. That is the real truth and reality of it. There are no good people. There are no bad people. That does not exist. Good and bad are states of being. Good and bad can change like frequency. You can be the best person and then wake up and be a murderer, and that happens. And that happens to people. It's a state of being, and the whole point is to remain unified as one whole thing. Which is why like the greatest Buddhist monks are assholes sometimes in their teachings and their lectures, not because they're assholes or bad people, but because you have to know the darkness to see the light. You know who doesn't do that enough? The people who pretend like everything's great all the time. So your politicians, your churches, your temples, your mosques, everything is not great all the time. And the people who are faking that and pretending like it is, and they have to pretend like they always have to be this positive voice, end up doing dark things behind closed doors, because whatever you see out in the open is what they want you to see. So if somebody has a healthy balance, you're going to see parts of their shadow come out. But if they're recognizing it and it's healthy and it's not damaging to themselves or other people, that is a healthy expression, right? And we see this in comedy. We see this in humor, dark humor. You want to see somebody's shadow, go to a comedy club. That's like the best way to do it. But this is where that serpent comes. Now, why is that? Because the dark humor, as an example, leads to evolution. Perfect example, let's take the political example. You've got the right who doesn't really care about how they say things, and the left who cares way too much about how they say things. And oftentimes the right will trigger the left. That's generally how it goes. I don't really see it go the other way. The left says stuff and they're like, we got him this time. And the right's like, we don't care. And that I've seen that time and time again. And I think, in my personal purview, I think that a lot of people on the right in Western politics, they probably have more of that whole shadow dynamic at least figured out a little bit, because the left is the one that paints the face. They're the ones that go out and they live the shadow in their physical experience. The way that they dress, the way that they live, et cetera, et cetera. But the left also has an issue where when their ego or their word choice or anything is challenged, you see it brought out super, super negatively. And this always makes the left look really, really bad. So the right has a great way of rage baiting the left into exposing themselves and crying and freaking out. And this, again, is showcasing people who are not fully, like, they're always trying to present themselves as being perfect. They're always trying to present themselves as being angels, and everybody on the other political side is wrong or bad or whatever. And this is why the politics between right and left today are crazy. And again, I'm a centrist. I don't care either way. But this is why I think Donald Trump had won. He was in like 3 freaking elections, or actually more than that, but he was in 3 elections in the last 3 elections, and this is why he won again. It's because there is a sense where the shadow, when it presents itself too much, people become really turned off by it. And I think that's exactly what's happened with a lot of like more liberal leaning things like Hollywood and media and things like that. Their shadow has come out too much and it's deterred people, and they would rather take Donald Trump over dealing with all these other people's shadows. Because at least Trump's shadow is predictable. So you see what I'm saying? Trump has his shadow come out all the time, but his shadow is predictable. He's going to say, quiet, piggy. He's going to be chauvinistic and whatever else. It's like, yeah, that's who he is. Like everybody, that's who he is, and he's unapologetic about it. And that's what resonates with people. Like, you see what I'm saying? Especially in America. America's a cesspool. You see what I'm saying? It's like psychologically, it is all about reverse psychology. If you're going to sit there and try to hide your shadow, everybody's going to see it. You have to adopt it. You have to understand it. You have to have that self-realization. So let's see. Upward ascent of energy, blah, blah, blah. There was like a Kundalini map that I had. Yeah, here we go. Kundalini is not Eastern only. It's not satanic. It's not dangerous. And it's also not the sacred secretion. Kundalini is the physical aspect of activating the inner mechanism to guide the sacred secretion. You can do Kundalini yoga and meditation at any time of the month. Do not mistake what a lot of people are lying about online as the sacred secretion. Sacred secretion is your lunar consciousness activation, your subconsciousness activation. It is not necessarily something that you are going to quote unquote feel. If you want to feel something, just do Kundalini yoga, do breath work. You want to feel something and have like some super mystical experience and get high on your own biochemical supply, do breath work. It's super, super, super simple, super straightforward, super easy. Just do breath work. That's all you need. It's just do that a whole bunch of times. And you are going to be like, whoa, I feel it. Yeah, because you just activated your Kundalini, you just activated your nervous system. Sacred secretion done in tandem with Kundalini is what you're aiming for. That's what you're aiming for. You're activating the body's inner mechanism of bringing that essence up into the mind during the moment in time where it gets brought up into the mind. That's the difference. So Kundalini is the natural evolutionary impulse of the human organism. Feeds creativity, healing, intuition, spiritual insight, blah, blah, blah. You already know what all of it does. Not fireworks, subtle, organic shifts. Here are your signs of activation. You know how many times I have done breath work and I've felt like, again, high on my own supply? What am I going to do with it? That doesn't, I feel so tingly and I'm vibrating and I feel so good and I feel like I want to laugh and cry at the same time. I'm so overwhelmed with emotion and it's so good and blah, blah, blah. Okay, and then what? It allows you to, first of all, increases neuroplasticity, helps with stem cell regeneration, proliferation, I should say. Helps really realign a lot of the nervous system issues that you have in the body, including any kind of fascial-based trauma or just gunk that's in the body. Helps push a lot of your circulatory rhythms and movement. That's going to be the initial thing. Wait 10 minutes, and then you're going to be like, I feel normal again. What did you learn through that experience? How did you heal? How did you grow? What are you going to be doing different? That's the whole point of what this is about, guys. It's not, please, 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 don't believe these people online. They are liars, okay? This is not some freaking hyper mystical thing where you're going to learn how to shoot fireballs out of your hands. I've been doing this longer than most people have even known about it. I was doing this before COVID, before people went through their spiritual awakenings and blah, blah, blah. I've written papers on this. This is not about becoming this awakened, enlightened master guru. This is literally just about bettering yourself every day through your choices so you can become the best version of yourself. It's actually a lot easier than you think it is. And most of the people before us did all of the work. That's why our time today is so much easier to live through than it was thousands of years ago or even hundreds of years ago. So, tangible daily life transformations, clarity of mind, emotional maturity, compassion, intuition, purpose, heightened creativity, attraction towards truth, rejection of inauthenticity. Why is this important for me to stress these points? It's because you will set yourself up for failure. You will buy into the books and the courses of other people who are telling you that this is some hyper mystical, super spiritual, alien related existential crisis experience. And it's all a bunch of bullshit. All right. You can do activation. Your sacred secretion is a healing mode every month. It is just for healing. And you get closer to God. And I felt that. I have had sacred secretion where I've done all this stuff. And like I've sat there and I've cried of joy because of the bliss that I feel internally. I feel very aligned. But that's because I was doing it. That's because I was making those choices. That's because I was choosing to live a good life. And that's what I try to do. I wake up every day. I make these videos for you guys, right? And that's a choice. That's a choice I make, but I love doing it. Navigating the ascent. Preparation is everything. You know, okay, so this is really what I wanted to get into. Nervous system regulation, healthy sleep, meditation, breath work, discipline, integrity, trauma integration, and shadow work. These are kind of the necessary tools. Emotional purges, get rid of old trauma, ego dissolution, existential shifts. Now, ego dissolution is only necessary if you have a big ego. Most people do. But if you don't have that big of an ego, then you don't need to really dissolve your ego. You just have to integrate your ego with the shadow and the other personas and the other parts of your psyche. Existential shifts, inner chaos, energetic pressure. Grounding practices, somatic awareness, journaling, therapy, nature exposure, breathwork, and conscious slowing. The role of guidance. Because Kundalini reorganizes hormones, energy, emotions, perception, and identity, it helps to have mentors, spiritual communities, teachers, and embodied guides. So, when the energy rises, prefrontal cortex becomes more coherent, default mode networks quiet, pineal gland activates, heart-brain sync increases, intuition becomes reliable, insight becomes multidimensional. So again, this is about interconnecting all faculties so you can become more one. That is what Christ really represents and embodies. I'll let you guys read the rest of this stuff. You can feel free to pause. A moment of awakening is not the end, it is the beginning. Oh, so cheesy. So integration means living with integrity, acting with compassion, aligning with truth, embodying wisdom, stabilizing openness, and becoming the awakened version of yourself. Really well put together. Straight to the point. So this is where I'll end the video for today. I really appreciate it. I was trying to keep it really short today. But if you like this video, please consider checking out my AI tool. It's got a lot of great stuff. I am adding more courses. So I do have a chakra and quantum healing course already live. My esoteric philosophy courses also talk very heavily about Kundalini, but I'm also making new courses, as you can see here. These are not live yet, but I've got a lot of them, including shadow work, alchemy and mysticism. We have a course that we're going to probably be doing on the Nadon, and Kundalini and things like that. So that's another one that I can create as well. But I really love you guys and I appreciate you guys. Any kind of support helps. So like, share, comment, all that stuff. And I will see you in the next video. Take care.